Now, I love a good series, but if there's one thing about me, it's that I hate leaving a series unfinished. If I start a series, I'm going to read that series in one go. I'm not going to be shoving books in between. I'm just going to read the whole thing, because otherwise they will get added to my TBR, and I don't look at my TBR. That thing is so long. However, being a series girl has its downsides because it often means that I'm waiting over a year in between every single new release. This sometimes makes me kind of just give up on a series or lose my way in between. In today's video, we are going to be finishing or continuing series that I've started. The books that we're going to be reading today are 2025 releases, because I just want to make sure that I've gotten the sequels or like the next book to the series done. Otherwise, like I said, it's going on my TBR. I was lying in bed last night and I decided to open a book that I had received that very same day. It was kindly sent to me by a publisher. But I was thinking, Shreya, what are you doing? You have so many books on your TBR. Are you sure you should be picking up a brand new random book? So today, let's tackle my TBR. The first book that we're going to be reading today is a pretty recent release. It is going to be King of Envy by Anna Huang. This is a really important book for me to read, and I'll tell you why. Way back when, like 3 or 4 years ago, when I was first getting into contemporary romance, she was the big name that was being talked around on TikTok, and I read her Twisted series. I actually enjoyed the Twisted series, and then I read Kings of Sin. I ended up kind of liking that too. But looking back now, I don't think I would actually enjoy those books if I read them today. And also, I found myself disappointed by her last 3 books, which were The Striker. Did not like that book. And then King of Sloth, I thought it was so mid, and the same goes for King of Greed. I was just not into them. So this is an important book because it's going to tell me whether I continue with her books or not in the future. If I don't end up really liking this one, sorry, goodbye. It's been a fun time. I'm actually so skeptical about this release that I haven't even bought the physical book yet, even though it is definitely out. I have the Kindle copy, and if everything goes to plan and it goes well, I will be purchasing the physical book. For the first time in a really long time, I have a genuinely very busy week, and it's going to be hard for me to read a lot because I'm working almost every single day. But I do think the Kings of Sin series is perfect for that because they're relatively short books, relatively easy to get through as well. They're just contemporary romances. So hopefully I'll be finishing that over the next 2 days, and then we can continue some other series as well. Now, from what I know about this book before going into it, it's about Vuk and Ayana. Vuk, I forgot what he actually does, but he's a very like stoic, silent, grumpy kind of character, which literally probably summarizes every single one of Anna Huang's male main characters. Yeah, so he's grumpy, quiet, whatnot. I don't even think we've heard him speak one word throughout the entire series, but he is really into Ayana, who is a model. Might just be blocking this out of my memory, but I don't believe we've had a long interaction with her in the past books in this series. But we don't know too much about her except for the fact that she is engaged at the start of this book, and Vuk really wants her. So I assume it's going to be forbidden romance, jealousy, or maybe if her fiance is a bad person, a bit of white knighting. I don't really know. I really want to read this book, but I'm also kind of I feel like I'm heading to the gallows because I get a feeling I won't enjoy it, but maybe it's a good thing that my expectations are kind of low because I won't be disappointed, will I? I actually have to head into work right now. We'll see how much I get through today because it's a pretty long shift, but I will share my thoughts with you periodically. Maybe not while I'm at work, but I'll see you when I get home and I'll talk about what I have read, my initial thoughts and feelings. Fingers crossed it's good because I genuinely did like her books when I was younger. It's 6 p.m. I'm back home from work and I am 14% of the way through this book. I obviously couldn't update you on my break, but I was reading through my break. I was reading on the train, and somehow we've already gotten 15% of the way through this book. Thoughts so far. Vuk and Ayana's dynamic is exactly like every single Anna Huang couple ever. The grumpy, stoic guy, the elegant, sophisticated and successful woman who is in a situation that she needs saving from. So right now Ayana is engaged to Jordan, who is one of her closest friends, and they've decided to marry in convenience. Jordan needs to access his inheritance and he can only do that by getting married, whereas Ayana needs enough money to break free from her really abusive modeling agency. So this is a mutually beneficial arrangement between friends. Ayana thinks Vuk hates her. Vuk does not hate Ayana. He secretly yearns for her, but he's quiet and stoic. So pretty much this is a repeat of every other Anna Huang book. This is one of my main criticisms about this author's work. It's not that it's like bad or that the story itself sucks. It's just that I'm tired of seeing the same thing. And if you have read Anna Huang's books before, you know there's usually a plot under it, like a bit of a dark plot. In this case, in the previous books, there was a freak fire that almost killed Book actually, but now they're kind of working out who it was orchestrated by. So far it's quick, it's easy to read, but not too much has happened, especially on the romance front, and I wouldn't expect it to happen so early in the book. 20% in. Honestly, not too much has changed about the situation we're in, which I kind of like. I don't like when romances want to speed through to just like the first kiss or whatever. So I am glad that we're taking our time getting there, and Book and Ayana are speaking a little more, but I have an hour or two of reading time ahead of me, so I seriously lost track of time last night, because why am I on 52%? And I managed to go to sleep before midnight. Over 50% in. At this point in the book, the underlying plot, like I'm not talking the romance, the criminal plot is really taking off, and I am really enjoying it. I like what it adds to the story. I like what it adds to Vuk's character. At this point in the story, Vuk has been told that Ayana and Jordan's marriage is simply a farce. So he knows now that it's all fake, and he doesn't need to really feel guilty about anything now. But one thing that did really annoy me, back when he had no idea that Ayana and Jordan's marriage was fake, he genuinely thought they just probably loved each other. There was a tiny weeny bit of shenanigans between Ayana and Vuk. You are the best man. That's your best friend. You should be loyal to him. So you should not be flirting with his girl. You should not be touching his girl. I am working again today, such is life, and it's a longer shift than yesterday, but it also means I get a longer break. So I'm looking forward to doing a bit of reading during my break, hopefully. Honestly, I didn't want to put the book down last night. I was so tired, but I was into it. And by the way, I think I know who the next book's about. It's an Indian girl, so I can't actually stop the series here. I must read the Indian girl's book just out of loyalty for my own countrymen. I do want to get a bit of reading done before I have to get ready for work, so let's read. Unfortunately, it's time for me to go to work now, but I am on chapter 36, which means I think I'm 70% of the way through this book. Obviously, I'm going to continue listening to the audiobook on my way. I'm not just going to go to work though. This would not be my video if we weren't stopping at the bookstore. I have decided I want to buy King of Envy. I really am enjoying it, and I think I would be happy to see this on my bookshelf. In addition to that, I want to pick up, well, you'll see, I want to pick up the next book that we're going to be reading. Also, when I got out of the shower, my mom was like, there's a parcel for you, and you know what that means, book PR. And I opened it. It was Silver Elite. Obviously, we're not going to be reading it in this video because this is the first book of the series. Streets are saying this is like a cross between Fourth Wing and Divergent. Hello. Maybe we will read this book in next week's video. Not this week, but I'm so excited to get around to this. I also have another book that I'm waiting for. But the point of this video is to continue series, not start new ones. So let's go to work. Okay, I'm back home. As you guys saw, I definitely made some progress in that book. By the way, I was listening to the audiobook. It is Vuk, not Vuk. So now we'll be saying Vuk. Paul, of course, I had to go pick up King of Envy. Another girl and I literally raced for it. We both got a copy. And then a couple of months ago, I read Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare, which is like her first adult fantasy not set in the Shadowhunters universe, and I had been putting this off ever since it released because I was like, do I want to read a Cassie Clare book that is not a Shadowhunters book? This was so good. However, I did not read the sequel of that book. So that brings me to the second book we'll be completing in this challenge. That is The Rat Picker King, which is the second book of the series. This is going to be epic, and everyone's saying that this sequel is better than the first book. I have no idea why I forgot to read the sequel when I first read Swordcatcher. I am 95% of the way through the book. Is this the most incredible romance on the planet? No, but I'm having fun. And also, we've just like crossed the point of the third act breakup. It's a very believable third act breakup, because if I were in Ayana's shoes, I would also be questioning the relationship. Like, I get it. It makes sense. For once, it's not a squabble over something really stupid. It's genuinely a point of tension. The criminal plot under the story, it's predictable. I knew it. I saw it coming. But I'm not going to penalize Anna Huang for that, because this is not a thriller book. This is a romance book. So I don't expect the thriller plot to be like Agatha Christie level. I don't care. It's 7:23 p.m. right now. let's get some reading in. I finished. We're going to talk about this tomorrow. Good night. Morning everyone, I just woke up, but let's talk about King of Envy by Anna Huang. I finished it last night and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I think I talked a lot about my thoughts while I was reading it, but is it extraordinary? Is it entirely original? Is it wow? No, but I had fun. That is honestly what is most important to me when it comes to reading books, especially with Anna Huang. I'm not expecting original romance. I'm not expecting some crazy subplot. No, I'm there for a good time, and I got a good time. I did tell you before we started reading this that this was an important book because it was going to determine whether I continue with this series or not. I will be continuing. Like I said, the next girl is Maya. She is an Indian girl, so I have to, like, that's just solidarity. No, I will be reading. This was enjoyable enough that I'm happy to finish the rest of the series. There are only going to be 7 books for the Deadly Sins. Only 2 more books. I may as well stick it through. I am going to be a little busy over the next couple of days, so we're not starting the Rag Picker King just yet. But God, I can't wait for it. I'll talk a little bit about it actually. Swordcatcher. This is Swordcatcher. Swordcatcher is Cassandra Clare's first non-Shadowhunters book, and it's set in an entirely original new fantasy world, and it follows 2 main characters. The first is Kel, and Kel is something called a swordcatcher, which is the prince's body double. So in an important event where the prince's life might be under threat or compromised, Kel stands in so that if there is an assassination attempt on the prince, it is Kel that gets hurt and not the actual prince. And then it follows a girl called Lynn, who is a physician from a group called the Ashkari, and the Ashkari are oppressed by nearly every single country in this world because they practice a certain sort of magic. And then there are other characters thrown into the mix. There is Connor, who is the prince. There is the Rag Picker King, who is Castellane, this country's most notorious criminal. Guys, it was so good, and I didn't know Cassandra Clare could actually write like this. Like, not to say that Shadowhunters was bad, because it certainly wasn't. This sort of beautiful prose is not something that you see in Shadowhunters. It was a pretty slow read, and that's because not too much actual plot occurs in this book. A lot of this is setting the foundations for the story, and it's, like I said, very descriptive prose. So you kind of need to be completely focused, and we ended with some pretty interesting revelations, and I can't wait to see where it goes in the Rag Picker King. Anyway, we'll be picking that up in the next day or 2, and I will see you for that part of the vlog. I have not seen you in a couple of days, and that's because I have been working so much. But I did start the Rag Picker King on my Kindle. I've just been reading during my breaks and like on the way home and stuff like that. Over the past 3 days, we have gotten 85 pages in, 85 pages out of 550. So I'm around 15% of my way through this book, and let me just give you a brief spoiler-free update on what's happening so far. Following on from the events of Swordcatcher, there was something that happened at the end, and we are dealing with the fallout of that. There's been changes to Castellane's nobility, so there's just been some interesting things going on, and they are dealing with the fallout of that and trying to figure out exactly what happened and why it happened. Much like Swordcatcher, there's not a great deal of stuff that's going to happen in a short space of time, and that is because the writing is so intensely descriptive, right? You have to read it slowly. It kind of reminds me of the Lies of Loch Lamora in the sense that, well, a lot of things did happen in that story, but the writing was so descriptive that you had to maintain your focus. Postman knocked on the door this morning. You're never gonna guess what he dropped off. The Knight and the Moth. I told you I've been looking forward to this book, and it's coming out at the end of this month, and I got a copy. I near screamed when I saw this. Oh my god. Isn't she beautiful? Very excited to read this book, but out of sight, out of mind, because Rag Picker King. Anyway, the book's going well so far. I don't know what else to say. It's going well. The writing is fun as always. The characters, I'm excited to see a bit of character development, especially from Antonetta, because we know she's kind of hiding that she's an intelligent person. Hello everyone, I'm sitting outside the gym, but I thought I'd do a little update before I go in. I'm 31% of the way in on page 172 out of 550. Someone has just arrived and I've heard her name being mentioned for Swordcatcher and a good chunk of the Ragpicker King, so I'm really interested to learn more about her. I don't want to give stuff away, but like, she seems like a very intelligent character and I have no doubt that she's going to be important. There's not really much else of an update. Every time I pick up my camera to talk about this book, I say the exact same thing, which is that it is slow paced, but it's really worth it payoff wise. So I'm gonna go work out, and then when I get home we're gonna get through it a little more. You remember how I left you at the gym on 30%? Well, I got home around 8 p.m. and I read until midnight. Somehow I do my best work late in the night because I sped through this book. It also helps that we're getting right into the juiciest parts of the plot. I think there were many things I was waiting to happen and they were happening. I closed the book last night on 75% and you saw me reading this morning. I'm currently at 81%. Guys, we just had the most shocking betrayal happen. We knew, by the way, it has been clear in the story that there are traitors hidden inside the nobility, but it just got revealed. What the hell? That was not who I was expecting. I really can't see any way whatsoever out of this. Oh my god. Oh. I'm back. I did in fact finish the Ragpicker King. It is incredible. I gave it 5 stars. So good. I don't know what to tell you about that last 100 pages. I'm still kind of thinking about it. The amount of revelations that were dropped on us, the amount of plot twists we got, everything was just dropping left, right, and center. I need the next book immediately. This is insanity, Cassandra Clare. This is absolutely insane. You thought her Jason Clary plotline was crazy? No. Wait until you meet this story. I absolutely recommend this series to anyone who enjoys fantasy. This is not a romantasy, so it's like more plotty fantasy. So if you enjoyed those sorts of books, if you enjoy those medieval sort of fantasy worlds, if you liked Leigh Bardugo, Six of Crows, I do actually think you'd enjoy it. It's very different, and of course that's YA, but like, it gave me the same feeling reading this and reading that, even though they're so different. If you like The Lies of Locke Lamora, pick this up. That was so good. Unfortunately, that does bring us to the end of this video because those are the 2 series that I really wanted to continue, and I'm very thankful I continued both of those. However, I'm obviously going to be seeing you really soon because if there's one thing about May, it's that there are so many good new releases, and as I told you, I got 2 very much anticipated releases in the mail. So of course we're going to be reading those. Of course I'm going to tell you about those, but that will be for next week's video. So for now, it's goodbye and I will see you then. Bye.